They take a moment to bask in their own glory until Izumi cuts in to ruin everything like she does.
Personally, I don't think we can afford to allow ourselves to get carried away by a single victory.
Well, that's true, Izumi, but what's wrong with letting ourselves get a little encouragement from it?
The only reason anyone's even noticed us is because we're a girls' school. If we don't—
Shut up. More icebergs ahead, this time with Kanako and her father who's grounding her, not wanting baseball distracting her from getting into med school. Are things ever going to settle down? It's just endless turmoil. On top of this, we now have a story about Yo's dad resurfacing, where he was supposedly involved in rigging a game which got him banned from the sport. Yo feels disillusioned because the story is tarnishing her own memory of her father, and the principal is trying to use it as an excuse to shut down the team. See? Endless turmoil. Public discourse all over the campus has seized on the topic of baseball besmirching the school's name, how they shouldn't have a team, and even that Yo should probably get kicked out. Really? She didn't even do anything. She hadn't even been born yet. This is ridiculous. Although if she had a full-ride baseball scholarship and the team got disbanded, it doesn't really make sense for her to be there, I guess.
And that girl has done nothing to bring all of this on herself.
That may be so, but what about the students who aren't in the baseball program? All of this negative mass media exposure could be damaging to their high school lives. For the good of the many, the few will have to be sacrificed.
Although the Parents Association sent an ultimatum to the chair, they still feel the need to barge into the clubhouse and start ordering people around.
And we advise you to remove your personal things before this locker room is locked off.
What? But you can't. Just shut up and do as you're told. Huh? Let's see what's in this room as well.
Now hold on. That's our changing room. Did you ever hear of asking for permission, old lady?
What? Old lady? Trollop? Let go of me!
Oh my God! Mrs. Ayanokoji!
That's what happens when you go barging in unannounced, you old bag.
Oh, you tripped me, you little delinquent!
What?
Wow, are they going to have a lawsuit now? Yo's depression and angst worsen, and she decides to quit the team and run away. She packed absolutely nothing, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to carry some sort of significance or just a mistake made by the show creators. In her aimless wanderings around where her dad grew up, Yo happens upon a baseball game at an orphanage where she hears one of the kids mention the lightning ball. The caretaker there explains that Yo's dad used to visit the orphanage and teach the kids baseball, and his celebrity had been passed down over the years. Daw, how sweet. Even if using orphans is a cartoonishly heavy-handed way to show how good or evil someone is. The caretaker gives her a character witness testimony, which seems to make her feel a little better. And then all of a sudden this happens. Because no one was supervising the kids for who knows how long. Listen to this guy.
Well, I've got 3 kids who haven't checked in yet, so I'm going out to see if they're stuck somewhere because of the rain.
They didn't come in? Why wasn't someone watching them? They're children, not goats.
Fifi says what? Something bad's about to happen.
What's that, Fifi? Yo fell down a well? So in what I'm sure was a remarkable feat of daring, which happened entirely off-screen, Yo saved the kids but went to the hospital and is now in critical condition. Maybe if the creators had found a way to configure this scene into some sort of baseball challenge, they would have found time to show it to us. Everyone clamors to the hospital one way or another.
Where did you get this monster?
This is my daddy's recreational vehicle, Ludwig. The next point of interest on our tour will be the Mina residence. You do know where Kanako lives, don't you, Sebastian?
Absolutely, Miss Nene.
You know, the show is pretty spotty with establishing things and keeping the audience up to speed with exposition and character motives and whatnot. But on the plus, in failing to explain things, it creates these bizarre moments where you just have to throw up your hands and say, "What?"
What's my daughter's condition?
Not good, I'm afraid. We've drawn the water out of her lungs, but we still have to deal with her low body temperature.
You mean hypothermia?
Yes, that's correct.
Hypothermia? I'm not an expert, but she wasn't out there for that long, and it's not like it's the dead of winter. Though if she had to rely on this guy to come to her rescue, maybe it's not such a stretch. But how come the kids she saved were fine? Whatever. Everyone is at the hospital except Izumi, who is already out having her own meandering introspective crisis. She finally decides to go meet Yo, finds out she's at the hospital, tries to go to the hospital, but there's a tree in the road. So what does she do? The most Izumi thing she can do. Meanwhile, Yo is having a dream where she converses with her dad in what is easily the best executed scene in the show thus far. I felt feels.
How would you like to show your old dad what a fantastic pitcher you've become?
Yo's not pitching anymore.
Oh? And why is that?
Because I just don't want to anymore. I quit baseball because I stopped liking it.
Quit baseball?
The way it's shot is meant to imply that as Yo's condition worsens, she's actually able to make contact with her dead father. Izumi finally shows— oh my god! This girl has 2 settings. I'm silently plotting to kill you and Berserk Doom Guy.
Miss, you can't come in here!
What the hell is this?
If you have any mercy within you, please, let me die.
When I grow weary of the noises you make, you shall die!
Even the medical staff is too terrified of Izumi to call for security or to try to resuscitate the patient. In the end, Yo lives not through medical intervention, but through the power of friendship. Their bad media coverage turns to good media coverage, but plans are still moving forward to axe the team. That is until Kanako finally finds the courage to stand up to her father.
I was so afraid that you would get angry with me, that I couldn't tell you that all I really want is to be able to play with your approval.
I am going to bed now.
Although that sounds like the writers just punted the story again, the next day the principal stands up in defense of the baseball team.
As all of you know, the chairperson and I have had differing opinions concerning this team in the past. But let us not forget that this baseball team is also composed of young women. Therefore, I would like to ask you for your support for these students who have so much potential. All I'm asking for is that we give these girls a chance for their dreams.
See, this arc showcased a high level of competency in storytelling. They didn't give us point A and point B and then say something, I don't know, you figure out how it works. 2 characters had a conflict. They had reasons behind their opposing viewpoints, they argued about it, the principal clearly struggled with making the decision but ultimately did because he thought it was best to honor his daughter's independence over what he wanted her to do. So there's a reason for him changing his mind, and it has the lasting consequences of changing his relationship with his daughter for the better. Why didn't they do this with Izumi's decision-making? We get more exposition about Yo's dad and that the people who knew him best believe he was framed. Also, he was dating Keiko before he and Yo's mom met. Against her family's wishes, she was serious, but he wouldn't commit until he'd cleared his name. They made a promise, and then one day he just disappeared. Okay, here's my problem with this. Yo's dad essentially made a promise to come back to Keiko. He disappeared, found another woman, had a kid, and never found the time to give her the memo. That's an elephant in the room that the show never touches on, even when the 2 women who still share affection for him meet in the show.
When I first saw her, I could have sworn she was standing at your father's grave.
We had that scene with the orphanage meant to say, see, he was a good guy, but that's not a cure-all. I feel like they needed to address this conflict in order to fully exonerate him. Not to mention that it's basically left up to the audience to decide if he took money to throw a game or not. I don't feel completely okay about his behavior, and I don't know that Yo should either. The other thing that's a tragedy is that Izumi's mom losing in love to Yo's mom closely mirrors Izumi losing in love to Yo. These people needed to get together and have a heartfelt conversation, particularly Izumi and her mom. They had little interaction in the show and don't seem to be on the best of terms. They could have commiserated about this. She could have said, "Oh, you feel that way too? You remind me of me. Here's what I did to deal with the problem," or didn't do, since she clearly still isn't over that relationship that was well over a decade ago, even after having a kid with another man. They could have learned from each other and bonded at the same time. This thing with Yo's dad is like a whole other layer of the show just sitting there, and they never unpacked it. It was a big squandered opportunity, or as they say in baseball, they stranded runners in scoring position.
That was a great practice, everyone! I know it's really hot out there, but this special iced peppermint tea I made out to cool you down.
What are you doing, Yuki? Fifi says they like peppermint tea on Yukara.
Fifi has the deepest lore.
Yo, I was...
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Actually, it's not that important, really.
Curses! Defeated by the environmental noise again. Yo gives Hiroki a handmade handkerchief with his initials on it for his 16th birthday, while Seishiro and Hikaru spark up a relationship.
There's a big art exhibit this fall, and I'm doing a picture called The Princess of Koshien. I want Yo to be the model, but I haven't asked her yet, so I've been sketching these on the sly.
But why don't you want Yo to know you're doing them? These are wonderful. You really ought to show them to her.
You know, I was just thinking it would be nice to have a break episode where nothing insane happens and people just talk and have fun. And it doesn't even feel like mindless filler because they're hashing out character relationships. I like how Izumi achieves some semblance of normal human behavior, but it's only when she's with Hiroki.
What do you think about when you think about me?
Hey now, don't pop complicated questions like that on me.
Be serious.
I am, but to be honest, I never really thought about it seriously.
Not at all?
Well, as far back as I can remember, you've just been there. It's kind of like thinking about breathing. You're so used to it, you don't think about it.
Finish her!
You mean like a sister?
Uh-huh. If I had to say, you're like a kid sister who needs a lot of looking after.
Friendship.
Ouch.
So what's in the package? Come on, let me see it, Hiroki.
Hey. Do you think it could be handmade?
I know that terrible embroidery anywhere. Seriously, that's a stretch. Yo had never attempted anything like this in the show, and probably in her life, until just now. How would anyone know it's her work?
Dear Takasuki, happy 16th birthday. I know it's not much, but I stitched this with the hopes that you will hit a lot of home runs in the tournament. I will be cheering for you from a distance. Your friend, Yo.
Is something wrong?
Look, I'll see you later, Izumi.
What?
The sandwiches were delicious!
I assumed there were going to have to be alternative relationships for the people who won't get their first pick, because otherwise we'll feel bad. However, Izumi doesn't even have another positive relationship in her life, which means they're going to milk all they can from this love triangle, and someone's gonna crash and burn in the end.
This is for you.
What is it?
It's a medal I won in junior high. My very first one. And ever since then, I've worn it during every game I played as kind of a good luck charm. Don't worry, Tofu. You've given me a brand new good luck charm.
Takasuki.
Tofu, I love you.
And Hiroki seems pretty serious about Yo. Unless maybe he's talking about the food tofu?
Hayakawa?
This is such a brilliant cut. It communicates Yo's feelings without words. Just like in her relationship, the warning lights are going off saying, "Danger, keep back." The train crossing sign is even arranged like a worried face, which overlays with Yo's as it switches back and forth.
That was wonderful.
No, that's not what you were going for. Let me see that.
That was wonderful.
The next day, they're packing up to head off to training camp, and oh look, Coach is trying to be more healthy to appeal to Yo's mom. Cute. Oh no, oh no, oh no!
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. You broke my heart.
I don't really mind that they're punting again on Yo and Izumi's relationship because A, it's legitimately entertaining still, and B, they did a satisfying job developing other characters and relationships in the meantime. The girls head up to the camp in the mountains to take on a rigorous training regimen, and then Izumi, of all people, begins to slump. Don't worry, I'm sure it's nothing an abusive verbal assault followed by a cruel baseball challenge can't straighten out in less than a day. Time for some girl talk.
Now hold on, I thought you liked Takasugi, Yo.
Shh! Keep it down, Hikaru. What if Izumi hears you?
Oh, don't worry! He left already. So how about it? I'm right, aren't I?
Don't be ridiculous. I never even thought of such a thing.
Really? Didn't it seem that way to you, Kanako?
I wouldn't know, really.
So it's not a love triangle?
Stop it, Hikaru! There's somebody
On second thought, let's do something else.
Since I'm already halfway through now, I think I'll just finish it by myself this time.
Fine.
Nene fall down, go boom.
Oh my god, Nene! Can I adopt you? Oh no. Pillow fight! So it's pretty clear that Izumi is going to murder Yo tonight. The only real question on the minds of the audience is she going to just do Yo with like a pillow or something, or is she going to cut the power, raid the groundskeeping shed, and make the rest of the show into a slasher movie? But no, she just calls Hiroki at 2 a.m. and wanders around like a ghost in the night. I honestly don't see a healthy ending to this grudge. They might be able to put it aside to play baseball and even win a championship together, but I think it's realistic to assume that if Izumi loses here, she's going to be bitter about it until the day she dies.
Oh, my head.
Well, look who immediately fell off the wagon.
Next one's yours, right field! Ah, nuts. Looks like I hit that one too hard.
No way she'll get that one.
Oh-ho.
Nice play! That was great!
You sure have gotten better!
Another incredible thing that happened off screen.
Huh? Hey, Yuki, what happened to that precious doll of yours? Where's Fifi? Huh?
Fifi! Fifi, where are you? Where did you go? Fifi's gone!
Move over, Baseball Dreams and 20-episode love triangle. Fifi's gone missing! Yuki struggles without Fifi, and Izumi finds that Hiroki came all the way up the mountain to check on her after her insane phone call. This makes her feel super special, and then in an enormously contrived coincidence, Hiroki just accidentally drops Yo's handkerchief present on the ground right there.
Oh, Izumi, you haven't eaten yet Would you like something?
No, thank you. I don't really feel like eating right now.
Are you sure? Well, if you get hungry, just ask and I'll make you a snack.
Yeah, what was that about? I feel like someone just poured a bucket of snakes down the back of my shirt. Things continue to get worse for Yuki, so Nene tries to cheer her up. Oh god. Wow, she's actually so good she can simultaneously play every part of a violin concerto with a single instrument. She tries a story and whatever this is, and oh, a doll. You should have tried that first.
Don't you think she's much cuter than Fifi?
I don't want a new doll! I want Fifi! Well, that's it. If Nene can't put a smile on your face, you're clinically dead.
What can I do to help Yuki?
Just pull yourself together. The team's problems are the captain's problems, right?
Yeah, I suppose. That's the present I gave Takasugi. Why does Izumi have it?
Is something wrong?
That cloth.
You mean this? It's from Hiroki, a little gift.
A little gift?
Actually, I think he got it from one of his little fans for his birthday. Look, aren't these clumsy stitches adorable? Just a second. There's something that you should know. There's an invisible thread, Hayakawa, that binds Hiroki and I together. And while sometimes his attention may wander to one of his little fangirls out of novelty, it will never be more than a momentary win. It doesn't matter who you are. The bond that links us is far too strong for anyone to ever come between Hiroki and I.
Well played, Ice Queen. Well played. I think we're all finally on the same page. Aside from Hiroki not knowing about this, and Yo thinking he gave Izumi the present she made him. Never mind. That was some S-class venom, though. You know what I just finally realized? Izumi is the series' antagonist. And that is so weird to me because all the while she's also working with the protagonist to achieve a common goal. That's completely antithetical of everything we're used to in storytelling. We want good guy with agenda versus bad guy with conflicting agenda who must be stopped. I don't know what to do when you hand me two people with one conflicting agenda, love, and one shared agenda, baseball, and both of them carry about equal weight and importance. We've all seen a good guy and a bad guy make an alliance of convenience before, but we never get this continuous series-long paradox of having to beat a genuinely unrepentant, nasty bad guy while also relying on him to have your back and help you succeed at your other life goals. It's so uncomfortable, and as much as I want this to work, it doesn't really work. Izumi can't play both the villain and an anti-hero simultaneously. Yo goes to try to find Fifi on the jogging trail. Rain happens, Hiroki is there, so is an abandoned cabin, so they decide to get half naked and wait for Izumi to find them. Unfortunately, Yo decides to confront Hiroki about the handkerchief she thinks he gave to Izumi and drives him away before we can have a wacky misunderstanding, probably ending in murder. We finally get to learn Yuki's backstory, and things get pretty dark right after I make fun of her uniform.
Why would you do this?
I hated her. Especially after she won the MVP award and stole all of the attention for herself.
We all worked hard, but all they could see was Little Miss Perfect.
The little show-off. That's right.
She appears to be the victim of bullying on her softball team, but the weird thing about this scene is that everyone talks about her as if she's not there. She actually tried to kill herself. We don't know how, but I guess it doesn't really matter. But what happens next makes sticking with this show all worth it.
Greetings, Miss Yuki.
What are you?
Please don't be scared. My name is Fifi. I'm from the planet Yukara. That's 18 light years from your Earth, Yuki.
An alien?
You were thinking about killing yourself again, weren't you?
Why would I want to keep living like this? There's no one left that I can talk to or trust.
That's not true. You can trust me. I'll be your friend.
You will?
Okay, so we can deduce one of two things from this scene. Either Yuki is and always was a disturbed girl prone to delusions, or this show has just canonized a brand new layer of supernatural phenomenon within its own universe.
You're leaving? But I thought you were going to stay and be my friend forever. You never said anything about leaving before.
I know, Yuki. But when I came here from Yukara, I came here on a mission.
A mission?
That's right, and I finally completed that mission.
Oh, you have?
Yes, and now I must go back where I came from.
But wait, Fifi, what kind of mission were you on?
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Wait, Fifi, come back! I don't want to be alone again! Come back and take me with you!
Yuki's still practically catatonic, but a few loving threats and some reckless behavior later, we're on our way to adjusting to life without Fifi. And then we get this scene. Because of its timeliness and the fact that no other explanation is given for this weird light in the sky that everyone sees, the show has essentially recognized that aliens are real and they look like this. What am I supposed to do with this revelation? The girls come back from training with kind of a mixed bag of results, and it's time to get ready for the first bracket of the regional prelims. The first team they face is Hori Private School, which is a collection of hoodlums who are a weaker team on paper but are very intimidating and not very sporting. Yo pitches well, but Sarah gets beamed in the shoulder on the first pitch in an inauspicious beginning to a dirty game with lots of contact on the bases.
Alright!
I knew it!
Why so shy, Sugar Pie? Or did they teach you that sweet little things like you should never touch a man's body at that fancy school of yours?
See, some stuff you're just not gonna get with an English sub. The game is a total pitcher's duel into the ninth. Yo faces the nightmare scenario of a leadoff triple and then a fly ball to Yoko. The runner tags up and tries to score, but he hilariously injures himself trying to take out Mao at the plate. Man, that guy has to be slow to not outrun Yoko's long pause plus a relay throw. Also, Yoko has to be the biggest, most interesting success story in the show, and like 80% of it happened off-screen. They survive the threat and go to bat at the bottom of the ninth. The opposing pitcher serves up another beanball, but instead of getting hit, Izumi hits the ball with a one-handed tennis swing for a triple. They walk off with the most suicidal suicide squeeze I've ever seen. That was a legit play to call in that situation. That game was pretty fun. Best baseball in the show was right here. I don't know how many games they have to win the regionals and go to Koshien, but we get a montage with the same pitching animation playing a handful of times until they get to the semifinals, where they'll get to face their sister school, aka Hiroki's team. That means we have to get all the relationship things ironed out beforehand, and that means... we have to deal with Izumi again. Izumi actually apologizes and admits to stealing the handkerchief.
Why would you just keep it like that without telling me?
You know why, you idiot! Izumi says she'll stop actively pursuing him and interfering if she gets one goodbye kiss. Meanwhile, Yo gets bored of waiting where she and Hiroki were supposed to meet and wanders over to find... Now that's what I was looking for at the cabin. You even got the pupilless demon eyes right. And of course, this transgression is just left to fester when Hiroki doesn't follow up after missing his meeting with Yo. That's a plot hole. In the game, the team is experiencing difficulties because of personal dramas. On top of what you'd expect, Koharu's dad is also sick again. The team gets hits, but they can't produce any runs because of key slumping players in their lineup. Yo keeps intentionally walking Hiroki even with the bases loaded. The team faces their worst disparity going into the 9th at 5-0, and things look pretty hopeless. I mean, they can't even win with just a cliche 2-out, 2-strike grand slam now. Yoko gets a single, but the bottom of the lineup makes 2 quick outs. They need a miracle. Sarah keeps them alive with a surprise bunt and some fast legs. Hikaru loads the bases. Koharu somehow gets a letter from her father written and delivered in the last 15 minutes. Maybe it was a fax? All it has is one character, Wind. In Koharu's at-bat, she absolutely crushes the ball. Say hi to Fifi for us. Izumi stretches a triple into an inside-the-park home run by leaping over the tag at the plate and ties up the game. But Hiroki snags Yuki's liner to end the inning, and they go into extras. At least the game's still going and everyone is having a resurgence. Well, except for Yo, who... Jeez, what is this? Every single time someone has a problem, Izumi just berates and abuses them until they straighten up, and for some reason it works every single time. Why does Yo get a come-to-your-senses slap in the face moment? Izumi is the one who's been out of line through the whole show. They always try to spin her cruelty as some sort of constructive tough love, but I don't buy it. So after Izumi's mafia-style pep talk, we clear up the rest of the misunderstandings. Yo gets her head in the game, but unfortunately after 9 innings, her body is leaving. 3 balls to Hiroki, and she's down. How does she find the strength to stand up and keep going? Hiroki confesses his love for her on the field during his at-bat.
I don't know why you didn't show up at the park yesterday, but I'm not gonna wait any longer to tell you what I was gonna tell you then, and that is that I've been crazy about you since the day I first hit your pitch!
This show has everything. She tosses a couple of lightning balls to take it to a full count, and then he hits it out of the park and they lose. Well, that ended abruptly. We didn't even get time to decompress. The story also doesn't give us a serviceable denouement after the loss. It was just, they failed, the end, there's no Cinderella story here, go home. And it seems doubly rude to me because I didn't know they did 2-way sudden death in extra innings in Japan. In America, they would have had a chance to respond in the bottom of the inning. It was a realistic ending for such a bold dream. This was only the semifinals of the regionals. They still had another game after this for a trip to Koshien. Things kind of end on a downer here because of how they just drop everything and hurry out the door. We literally get a the end before the girls even leave the field. They try to salvage things with a 30-second post-credits stinger of a radio announcer talking about the team, but all we really get is that age-old hopeful ism we all tell ourselves at the end of every playoff run we've ever watched. Next year, man. Next year. It does just enough. I was ready to dismiss the show as mediocre as late as the halfway point. The tedium of the politics and setting up the team, the setbacks, the small short-lived victories, a general sense of fatalism, and Izumi just tearing everything down makes it such a slog. But after that halfway point, the show shifts focus to the characters and away from the tedium tar pit, and things suddenly got a lot better. It also helped that they had big changes in scenery with the orphanage, hospital, downtown, and the rural training camp. It was such a breath of fresh air from the stale baseball field, boardrooms, and Mom's restaurant, which together felt like they comprised about 80% of the screen time in that first half. And if the characters weren't at those places, they were on their way to them. We got more downtime and the characters were all of a sudden allowed to just goof off and be themselves. The real enjoyment the series has to offer is in the characters, their personal struggles, and when they finally get around to it, how they play baseball together. You're guaranteed to like and remember at least some of these characters. They have varied and interesting personalities, backgrounds, and issues to work out, some of which needed more time to develop, like Yoko's entire character arc, which we only got little snapshots of. Most of the drama is pretty exceptional. Yo's struggle with her identity and her father's legacy is a highlight. The love triangle is a vicious primal chest beating straight out of a National Geographic video. For the most part, it doesn't rely on stupid gimmicks and misunderstandings, and instead flourishes on a girl with a serious personality disorder desperately trying to defend her territory and slowly coming to the realization that it was never really hers and it never will be. Oh my god, this character, man. I don't think there's any getting around it. Izumi is a bad person. I was exceedingly patient with her up to almost the end of the show. Then she pulled that nasty trick on Yo, and I thought, nope, we're done here. When you do something this underhanded, this awful, with this much conviction, this late in the game, you're not going to turn it around. You've cemented your reputation in infamy. There were multiple times over the course of the series where I thought, oh, she's going to get it this time, but it always peters out. She always stops just short of realizing that she's horrible, that much of her behavior is unwarranted, that the people around her give her chance after chance that she doesn't deserve, and that she should try to be nicer to them. The show enables Izumi by not only removing much of the negative consequences of her behavior, but straight up rewarding it. The 3 people she literally attacks just for having issues are miraculously fixed like she's baseball Jesus and they just touched the hem of her cloak. She keeps getting these little sentimental moments which realistically would come after a learning experience or when 2 people share a meaningful connection. The problem is that the show keeps rewarding Izumi with these moments without her having to do the necessary work to earn them. So instead of these moments feeling special and transformative like they're supposed to, they feel galling and hollow. We get this big emotional hug between Yo and Izumi at the end, and all I can do is scoff and roll my eyes. It's like planting a flag at the peak of a tall mountain, which you flew up to the top of with a helicopter. Without the effort and the learning, it's meaningless. These 2 have no chemistry and have had nothing but negative interactions throughout their entire contentious relationship. Moments earlier, Izumi was roughing her up in the dugout. Now they're hugging? She is unrepentant, never gets her comeuppance, and never has a personal reckoning, and no, her apology and realization that she can't have Hiroki don't count. For one, she was never going to have him. She was always friend-zoned, so this is not a consequence of her behavior. For another, yes, she is trying to make amends after trying to drive Yo from him, but guess what? Hiroki is just one half of the relationship she tried to sabotage. And what she did to him wasn't even a fraction of what Yo got when she directly intimidated, mocked, and emotionally manipulated her. And that's not even mentioning all the other stuff leading up to that point.
Why would I stoop to playing with gutter trash?
I want you to fail!
I've had it with you. Because you don't belong here. You don't belong in this school.
You hate me?
Where's Yo's apology? And another thing, Izumi conveniently omitted the vast majority of the nasty details in the handkerchief saga. Can anyone honestly say that if Hiroki sat down and watched the show in its entirety and witnessed every awful thing Izumi did to his quote-unquote girlfriend, that he'd be cool with it? Would he even want to be friends with Izumi after that? This question not being answered lets you know that that hug at the end was unwarranted and inappropriate to the story. The other one that particularly bothered me was when she attacked Mao. Without giving Izumi the benefit of the doubt, she basically called her fat and useless. Then she tore her down in front of the whole team. Then she had the gall to demand that Mao straighten up and meet her criteria or leave the team. She shouldn't be yelling at Mao, she should be yelling at the coach. He's the one failing the team by not training Mao. Mao is just doing what she's told. She doesn't know. Mao struggles through the challenge but ultimately succeeds, and then what happens?
And thank you, Izumi!
Thanks? No, you don't thank her. You did the work. And there's no reason to believe that Izumi ever had your best interests at heart. Don't tell her thanks. Tell her to get bent. Never at any point during this episode, or the show for that matter, did it feel like Izumi was operating with a constructive or benevolent motive. What it felt like was her trying to set up Mao for humiliation and failure, because her character is written as destructive and intensely hateful, and she has never shown her work to prove that she is anything but. The baseball challenges got on my nerves because they're obviously just a cop-out for showing real baseball game. They're so artificial and the stakes are manufactured. It's just busy work. I mean, we're literally hitting a tennis ball with a baseball bat. What are we even doing here? What does this prove? The make or break Rinkai game was fine. I could see pretext for having something like that. I realize it's a show about baseball and they need to show baseball in some fashion and they can't have real games all the time, especially when they aren't an official team. But if I had to choose between these fake baseball segments or having scenes that have nothing to do with baseball, I'd choose the latter. Honestly, I don't think we see the girls off-field enough. What do they do in class? What do they do for fun? But later, when they did show real baseball games, I think they successfully captured what makes the sport fun. They weren't a one-trick pony of nothing but bottom of the ninth come from behind wins. They showcased other exciting plays like defensive deception, squeeze bunts, inside the parkers, base running acrobatics, and Yuki climbing the wall was pretty cool. The show challenges stereotypes and often avoids obvious cliches. I like it when I make a prediction about what's going to happen and I'm completely wrong. However, things still need to make sense in the end. The biggest mistake this show makes is when we don't see characters think before they make big decisions. How did they get from point A to point B? I need a reason for the characters to do the things that you're making them do. And if it's not in their character to do those things, then you need to change how that character feels about that thing, or have them not do it. Why did Izumi abandon a bright tennis future to help the baseball team she wanted to destroy? Why did Yoko finally decide she wanted to play baseball instead of be a model? When did that happen? It feels like I'm watching a show where someone keeps pressing the 30-second skip button and I keep missing important character developments. The other biggest problem is how the show keeps implying progress has been made either with the story or with a character's growth, and then you get to the next episode and find out that no progress was actually made. The most obvious occurrences usually involve Izumi. Oh, Izumi decided to let the team stay, so is she okay with Yo? No. Oh, she joined the team now? Does that mean she's okay with Yo now? No. Well, surely after the hospital scene, no. Their hug at the end? We don't know for sure, but based on her track record of being completely static in her personal growth, I'm going to say no. Ugh, that ending. They totally muffed it. It's completely fine that they lost. What I want to know is that the characters are okay, that they want to keep playing baseball, and that they're going to go out and have fun together now. And I need closure on the love triangle. That sounds kind of silly, especially coming from me, but that story is longer than that of the baseball teams, and it was so fraught with torment, it totally eclipsed the overarching baseball plot. You can't give it a proper send-off with just a hug, and an unearned hug at that. How does the relationship between these three people pan out from this point? They could have had one 30-second scene where the two girls have a conversation sitting next to each other in the stands at Koshien while they cheer for Hiroki. And then Yo says something like, Next year, we'll be playing here. That would have been great. Despite its tendency to start in the middle of a lot of things, some glaring and erratic writing flaws, ignoring tantalizing story avenues, and an ending that leaves you hanging, the show still manages to be decent overall. It's worth watching, but if you don't have patience for a dozen episodes of slow boil before getting down to business, I understand. Come for the baseball, stay for the psychotic antics of Izumi. And also this. Well, until next time, keep running in the 90s.